What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below. But if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all massively helps out our channel, and it truly does. Thank you so much, and let's crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a shelter worker. Would I be the arsehole if I didn't tell him where his lost dog is? Throwaway account because the legality of this is questionable. Ooh, intriguing. I have worked at this animal shelter for 5 years. I love my job. Every day we save dogs, reunite them with their owners, and find them new homes. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but today we had a woman bring us a dog she found wandering the street near her house. I recognized the dog instantly. I'm going to call him Spot for the sake of this post, because I am not very creative. Spot belongs to my neighbor. I've spent the past 3 years watching Spot wither away over my fence. He lives in a shed on a heavy chain, and never once have I seen my neighbor play with him or bring him inside. All through winter, rain, storms, etc., Spot stays outside. I've reported him for neglect more times than I can count, and seen no change to the way Spot lives. I had extra fencing from when I put up my fence, and I offered it to my neighbor so that Spot could get off the chain and live in a fenced-in yard instead. He didn't accept the offer. A few days ago, Spot disappeared from his shed. I didn't know what had happened, if he died or was given away, etc. All I knew is he was gone. Now he's here, at my work. I've done this job for 5 years. I've gotten pretty good at figuring out which dogs have the best chance at adoption, and a dog like Spot, a purebred male as handsome as him, only 3 years old, I bet on him finding a home within a few weeks. Besides, we are a no-kill shelter. If he stays here, he'll either live with us until he dies of natural causes or be adopted out. So now I'm sitting here asking myself, do I tell my boss I know this dog's owner, or do I keep my mouth shut? If I tell her, she'd be legally required to contact him and give Spot back. But if I keep my mouth shut, Spot has a damn good chance at a better life. Would I be the arsehole if I kept my mouth shut? Edit, you're alright, who's Spot? Never seen this dog before in my life. So you can pretty much already see where the comments are going to go with this one. And from my point of view, morally on this one, you're making the right call. You're the one who's seeing this dog in distress, being treated as such on a heavy chain in the backyard, living in a shed in poor conditions. And as you said, with your language in this one, you're seeing this dog wither away. And if it has a chance at a better life, I'm all for that. So this is a very simple one from my point of view. This is definitely not the arsehole. And put yourself into the position of someone who lost their dog. Someone like yourself who loves your pets. What would be the first thing that you'd done if your pet suddenly disappeared? Surely you'd be checking around those shelters, wouldn't you? And if they haven't done that, it just shows how much, in my opinion, how much they care about this dog. So 100% not the arsehole. And I hope Spot, although we're not going with Spot anymore, are we? Hint, hint. Finds a better home and has a better life. I truly hope so. And we'll start off with Trashman Joe saying, not the arsehole. When a dog runs away, one of the first things you do is check local shelters. If Spot's owners doesn't care enough to even do that, then by all means let Spot roll the dice and try to get a better family. It doesn't sound like he could do much worse. And Oscar D. Grouch says, not the arsehole. It might be Spot, but you're not sure. Hint, hint, hint. In other words, you're not sure enough to call. And Potato Lover 3000 says, not the arsehole. Are you sure it's Spot? Absolutely sure. And are you sure he ran away? For all you know, the neighbor dumped his dog on the streets and therefore relinquished ownership. But from your post, I'm not entirely sure Spot is your neighbor's dog. They sound similar, sure, but I don't know. And unless I was 100% sure, I wouldn't be sending a random dog to be neglected by my neighbor. And Tieflings and Tiara says, you know, I actually heard Spot has an identical twin. That's probably the dog you found. Not the arsehole. And Gold Quality said, you would not be the arsehole. How can you be sure it's Spot? Are we ever sure of anything in this world, really? And if it did turn out to be Spot, good. And the post pretty much just continue in that format as well. But what are your thoughts on this one? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll move on to the next story. And before we get into the next story, it does mention someone with a terminal condition So I'd just like to mention that in case you'd like to use the timestamps below to skip to the next story. And this story is from Suicidal Lover. Am I the arsehole for kicking out my best friend after she confronted me about my terminal condition? A little backstory here. I, 27 male, was recently diagnosed with a terminal condition, a form of advanced brain tumour which unfortunately was not identified at the right time. My sister, who is currently in Australia, is the only family I have. Okay, so now to my best friend. Beth and I have been inseparable ever since we were in elementary school. For over 20 years we've been there for each other through the best and worst parts of life. She is, for all intents and purposes, my second sister. Beth has been seeing this guy for the past 1.5 years and got engaged 6 months back. For the past 1 year, I've almost lost all contact with her. We did speak occasionally when our group of friends gathered together, but that was it. There was only one video call on New Year's where she hinted that her fiancé did not like her friendship with me, and that for maintaining her relationship, it would be best to go our separate ways. I agreed and decided to respect their decision. Fast forward 4 months later, and I had hit rock bottom after being diagnosed. I turned to my sister for emotional support, but due to the distance, it was difficult for us to interact constantly. She's currently in quarantine, so it's not possible for her to travel anytime soon. I did not tell Beth about my condition as I was still apprehensive about our conversation on New Year's. Incidentally, my sister is best friends with Beth too. In fact, it was always the three of us since childhood, and Beth eventually found out about my condition and came up to my house yesterday. I was surprised but happy to see her and asked what brought her here. She went into a fit screaming at me about how devastated she was to learn about my condition from someone other than me. How I was being selfish by not telling her anything, and that I had disregarded our practically lifelong friendship by hiding this from her. At this point, all the frustration that I had built up in me for the last few months came bursting out, and I called her out for painting me as selfish, when it was actually her who had cut contact with me. I told her that I made a mistake by thinking she would always be there for me. After almost 10 minutes of accusations being thrown around, I asked her to get the hell out of my house and never show me her face again. Am I the arsehole for behaving the way I did? Bloody hell, and OP, if you ever do see this or hear it, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and I wish you the very best and much love as well. But I wouldn't even question yourself in this situation. Sure, she might be shocked of everything that's going on and the news she found out, but she's the one who listened to her fiancé, her insecure fiancé, and totally trashed your relationship because of what he said, rather than, defend you and your lifelong friendship. She's the one that cuts you off and then expects you to go and tell her news that's going on in your life. That just doesn't make sense to me. And again, I'm saying it may be shock from her point of view, the way she's acting this way at the minute. As I'm not making excuses, I'm just trying to find the reasons that she may be acting this way. But she turned this whole situation back to her, like it's all about me kind of thing. Why aren't you telling me when you're the one who's going through this, right? And whether you want to rekindle that friendship in some way is totally up to you. Maybe you want to. It's hard to judge when you're on the outside and you've been friends together for so long. I imagine it's incredibly hard to forgive this kind of breaking trust, but who knows? But IC Special 5697 says, not the arsehole, she didn't want to hear from you, then she got mad that she didn't hear from you. Also, even if what she said was true, what's with the melodramatics? At most it was warranted a conversation. The screaming and woe is me nonsense is too much. And Jenny Genocide says, not the arsehole, sounds like she heard it from a third party. She doesn't consider as close to you as she should be and got butthurt. She chose to cut you off because her man friend is uncomfortable with the close friendship you had, because once again she chose him over your friendship. And Status Pattern says, not the arsehole, she opted out of your long friendship for a boy who hadn't even been around for a hot minute in comparison. She sounds like one of those people who want to play the sympathy card and act like they are a sacrificing and caring person. A woe is me and all my emotional energy is going into supporting my terminal friend, bragging type. She is just mad she can't be a social media hero. She doesn't actually care. Don't welcome that drama into your life. And Dr. Whoop87 says, Beth ditched her lifelong best friend because her boyfriend is too insecure with having a male friend. She wasn't entitled to anything from you. If she wanted to reconcile, that's on her, but you don't do that the way she did. Not the arsehole. And Westkit says, not the arsehole, best reaction was inappropriate, making it all about her. I'm devastated for you, and against all odds, I hope the best for you. And KFN says, info, can you clarify what was said on the video call at New Year's? You said this subtly hinted, but it sounded like you had a full conversation about it, and she outright told you that she couldn't stay friends with you because of her relationship. Also, I'm sorry about your diagnosis. And OP replies to saying the exact words, as far as I can remember, went something along the lines of, we're adults now and responsibilities change. It wouldn't be nice to spend so much time with each other when we have other people in our life who need our attention, and they may not like it if we do that too. We didn't verbatim state that she didn't want to be friends, but she told me to expect less of meeting and talking and spending time. That I got. Although I expected a decline in conversation, I did not expect it to reduce to the extent it did. We didn't even talk, other than the occasional text, until the other day. Now, what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story comes from Ordinary Success 8536. Am I the arsehole for asking my landlord if we would have to pay rent due to them selling the house we rent out from under us? Yesterday afternoon, 6th of the 7th 21, I got a text from my landlord that she is selling the house we've been renting out from under us, that we have until 7th of the 31st 21 to move out. I knew she didn't plan on staying here in the state after her daughter finished college at the end of the year, so I figured we had until the end of the year to find other housing and save money for a deposit and such. I sent her a text asking her if she dropped the bomb that we have to move in basically 45 to 50 days. If we can keep July rent to put that towards moving costs and deposit since it's incredibly short notice. We have a small area we prefer to stay in due to my husband's job and my doctors. I have a rare disorder as well as a genetic heart defect. She got angry with me and started yelling at me through text message, saying how she's so unhappy living in this area, and I knew she wanted to move away. Despite me pointing out that as far as I knew from our last conversation, it wasn't going to be until the winter. We have 3 children, a teen, a preteen and a preschooler that we also have to think about, so that complicates things even more. Am I the arsehole for even asking her if we have to pay July rent since she's given us such short notice to find new housing? And there is a mini update with some edits on this one, but so we'll start straight away with DumboGirl1 saying, you're the arsehole, she gave you more than 30 days notice. If you're going to be living there you need to pay rent, and you are the arsehole for asking for something for free that has a cost. And BRTO says, I mean, you aren't an arsehole for asking to not pay July, but she also isn't an arsehole for expecting rent. I wish you good luck finding a place. Not sure about your area, but my area houses are selling 50 to 100 grand over asking price and without people even seeing them. The rental market is slamming too. And No Werewolf 7765 says, you're the arsehole. On what planet would you not pay rent for a full month of your lease unless it is specifically stated in your lease? You have said you are month to month. She has given you a month's notice. All you're entitled to get, and you got that because you tried to scam a free month in her home. That isn't how renting works. And Ticky Tacky Wacky says, you're the arsehole for expecting her to say yes. Like she gave all the legal notice that is needed, and that's how life goes. You can ask of course, but she doesn't owe you that at all. And one more from Terry Sage saying, no one's an arsehole here, check your lease and local laws. You have a lease and the lease term won't be complete. If you have a lease and the lease term won't be complete, then you are still a tenant and the new owner will be your landlord. If you have a month-to-month lease, your lease will include language regarding how much notice must be given to you to end the lease. If there's no written lease, your local tenancy laws will state how much notice must be given. But if your lease and or local laws say that 30 days of written notice must be given, then your landlord will have given more notice than that and you are responsible for the rent payment for July. And our next story comes from Mellow10. Am I the arsehole for making my friend send me a picture of her address so I can pick her up as she's constantly late? Sorry for the confusing title, but here we go. I, 20 female, have been friends with Mia, 20 female, for years now, and she's one of my best friends. I love Mia, but there's one problem that annoys the hell out of me. She's constantly late. Wherever we go, Mia's at least an hour late, even when we pick her up at her house. I can't even count the times when Mia asked me or our friends for a ride just to make us wait in front of her house in the car because she still has to get dressed, just came out the shower, or still has to eat. One time we're trying to pick Mia up in the winter, she made us wait 30 minutes in front of her house because she had to do her makeup. Mia texting she's ready to be picked up just to make us wait in front of her house is a very common occurrence. Last week I kind of snapped. I tried picking Mia up at her house, and once I texted her that I was here, she immediately texted back she just needed to get dressed. I ended up waiting 20 minutes in the car for Mia. Quite frankly, I'm sick of waiting, so yesterday Mia needed a ride, but I demanded she send me a picture of herself already dressed before I leave my house to go pick her up. Mia was very mad at me and said she feels like I'm treating her like a baby. So am I the arsehole for making Mia send me a picture of her already dressed before I picked her up? No, we've had a story about this a couple of weeks ago where people not respecting each other's time, and time is so important. It's one of the reasons I thank you guys at the start of the video for spending 20 minutes or so with me, because I got so much value on time. We haven't got much of it in this world, so when people take advantage of it, it really pisses me off, to be quite honest, especially when it happens so frequently. We had a friend who used to do exactly the same thing in this story. Like, they'd say, oh yeah, come pick me up. You go round to pick them up and they weren't ready, and you'd wait outside for them for such a long time. And in the end we said, no, you can find your own way from now on. And they had to bus to go round because they didn't have a car to get to A to B from then on, basically. And you know, I wasn't sorry for it. I said, look, you're wasting my time now and I'm just not having it no more. I'm not sure if they've learned their lesson now, but they're pretty much on time when they do get the bus because they have to use bus schedules. But Stoke King says, not the arsehole, you're treating her like a baby because she is acting like a baby. And Grumpy Old Fart says, not the arsehole, and you're nicer than me. At this point, my response would be, okay, I'll come now, but if you're not out in 5 minutes, you'll have to Uber. And Spartan186 says, not the arsehole, she doesn't respect your time or anyone else's. She also doesn't understand the importance of time management. If she wants to waste people's time, she's earned the rewards of it. She can do two things now: start getting ready 30 minutes to an hour early, or keep having to send you photos that she is ready. And Bored Again says, not the arsehole, but just stop picking her up instead. Tell her that she's constantly wasting your time and she can find her own rides. And we have one more from Weskit saying, when I read the title, my first thought was that you'd only seen her undressed, so you needed to see what she looked like with clothes on, so you'd know who to look for. Anyway, not the arsehole. In fact, after a couple of times Mia making me wait half an hour in my car for her to come out the house, I just asked her if she knew about this app called Uber, or maybe given her a number of a taxi company. Edit, I'll add that a photo of her dressed isn't sufficient, since she can't eat or any other number of things after putting her clothes on. I think a photo holding today's newspaper on the curb in front of the house is required. The people still get newspapers these days. But yeah, don't be playing Mia's games. And we'll move on to the next story. And this story is from Frey the Line. Am I the arsehole for shutting my ex-husband down when he called me out on not inviting his daughter to my daughter's birthday party? Ex and I share Belle, 10, together. We divorced when she was 1. He and I didn't see eye to eye after that, but I always did my best to be friendly, polite, etc. Went around him and later his wife. She and I had our issues, though, from early on. The one big one being me not asking her to babysit Belle whenever I had something come up, and for not sending Belle to her after school. She worked from home. My parents had always expressed an interest in being after school childcare, and I was more than willing since my girl got time with her grandparents. But this pissed ex-wife off, and shit built up from there. I still do the best to be civil, but it's not easy. Ex has a daughter with his wife who is 6, and I have a daughter with my husband who is the same age. Ex's daughter has given mine a hard time for 2 years now almost. I got her moved into a different class halfway through kindy, but they ended up in the same class again this year, which wasn't so bad since COVID meant they were educated mostly at home. They started going back to class in February, and it was hard on my youngest. The whole issue between the girls has been heavily argued, with them saying my husband and I are expecting them to do too much when we expect them to get their daughter to treat ours better. It actually brought us back to court twice because ex-wife was trying to put Belle in a tough spot for being mediator, and I wanted that shut down super fast. Her birthday is coming up soon, and she wanted everyone but ex's kid at the party. She gets along with the class but not ex's kid, so I emailed around invites to the other parents. Ex found out about it because a couple of the kids were talking about it during summer classes, and well, Ex was pissed and his wife was pissed. He started calling me out yesterday afternoon and I shut him down. I told him it wasn't my fault, he was okay with his kid treating mine like crap, and I wasn't going to make her invite someone who treats her badly. ex called me an arsehole. His wife sent me a text saying I was an arsehole, and my sister told me I should maybe have handled it a little better because we still have to co-parent Belle, etc. And cutting him off doesn't help. Am I the arsehole? ETA, the issues are between my younger daughter who is 6 and my ex's other daughter who is also 6. Belle is a half sister to both, shared by me and my ex. My other daughter is with my husband, as the other girl is my ex's with his wife. Now, why would OP invite someone that's bullying her daughter to her party? It just doesn't make sense. Their age or not, the ex clearly isn't showing his daughter how to behave and how to treat others with empathy and respect, so there's no way you would invite this girl to this party. And we'll start with Howard Project saying, not the arsehole, no child is required to invite a bully to their birthday party. Absolutely. And Consistent Leopard says, not the arsehole, the girls have a long and court documented history of not getting along, so X should not be surprised that his daughter wasn't invited. And Wandering 19 says, not the arsehole, not inviting your daughter's bully, who so happens to be your ex's daughter, is completely justified. This also teaches your daughter that you have her back and she does not have to be around someone who makes her uncomfortable. Let's be honest that if the hat was flipped, your daughter also would not have been invited. And KD says, not the arsehole, your obligation is to make sure he has contact with Belle. You have no obligation to his other daughter, and your priority should be to keep your children safe. Your children need to see you have their best interests at heart, and this is the one way to show them that. And now we'll finish it right there. What is your thoughts on today's collection of stories? What are your verdicts on today's collections of stories if you choose to share them? Thank you so much for your love, your time and your support. You know, spending 20 minutes with this channel and getting involved is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. And if you want to support the channel further, you absolutely can. But as always, never any pressure to do so by clicking that join button down below for YouTube or clicking the link in the description for Patreon and joining up there. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
I've been thinking that I can't let you go.